All right, Mopar people, welcome back to the channel. I'm JustMoparJoe. Today we are starting on a brand new build I have not told anybody about yet, except for 2 or 3 people. This is a 1968 HP 440, and I'm not going to be able to give you all the specs today on it. I'd like to, but I want to have all the parts in hand to be able to do that. So I can show you the block today, and we're going to actually get it prepped and painted in this video. So hopefully y'all follow along for that. This engine goes in a 1969 RT SE Charger, and the Charger's getting a full rotisserie restoration and all that. But the engine, which is I think actually a June of '68 casting, is not original to the car, but it's very close. It was machined by Ed at Ed's Machine, and it will see a dyno. That is our main goal here, to dyno it just like we did my 400. So if you want to follow a dyno series, this is the video to start on. So let me show you what we're painting with. Since we have a show car, we need a show car quality paint for the engines. And I talked to my buddy Darren Blake over at Blake's Muscle Car in Texas, and he recommended the KBS motor coater. So here's what we got on our list real quick. We got an aerosol can of aluminum to do the intake with, so it doesn't look bad after 2 or 3 years. Our pint of Street Hemi Orange, KBS Clean quart, the Rust Blast quart, a trigger sprayer they just give you to be able to shoot with. Probably like that. 8 ounces of thinner, a brush kit, which is for the motor coater kit, which that brush will probably crap out in 2 wipes. And then the rust steel, which is a galvanized or matte finish that goes on actually before the motor coater. So I broke it down into simple steps. They give you a big long product sheet and all that. It's on their website, kbscoatings.com. And you may have used this before or seen it in other videos, but it's my first time using it. I'm going to give you my brief and simple review with it. And here's our main caps. If you're interested in that engine, ARP bolts ready to go. I can show you the bottom of a cap. This engine has been line honed by Mr. Ed at Ed's Machine. And let's go check out the block and start our cleaning process. Step number 1, I'm going to have to I want to brush out the block all again, start over. It is mostly clean, and it should be ready to almost paint, but there's several steps to go along with it. So I'm going to use my KBS Clean. Here, I've got to dilute that, get it into a spray bottle, and get the spray in here in just a few minutes. But before that, I'm going to get the block brushed out. Let me show you the block. Here is our block. It is an E440 HP. I'm not sure what the 813 any of that means, but here's the actual casting number if you'd like to see it. 253, looks like 6430-6. And you can see those factory markings where the pistons were and all that. Rather true decked, board and finish honed. She's ready to build. Freeze plugs, cam bearings in, all that looks nice. I'm gonna get it rolled over. I'm going to brush out all our passages. Like I said, he left these plugs out for me, and get it ready to soak with the other stuff. So I'm gonna try to keep all my chemicals and stuff off the pretty deck and out of the bores, also out of the lifter valley and stuff. Everything that's not getting painted, I'm going to leave. I'm gonna try to actually mask off in my process here. So hopefully y'all follow along for that. And I'm gonna get this thing brushed up, and then we'll start our coating process. I've got my KBS Clean. I got it diluted 50-50 with water and put in this old window film application deal. Now it says soak it for 5 minutes. I just got done degreasing this block with Mr. Clean. Smells pretty stout. Get out of there. Got my cylinders re-wiped with WD-40. and all my machine surfaces. Let me get a little bit up here. I gotta wash it all off anyway in a minute, but get it into everywhere. It's just a little process. Might be better than painting it with Rust-Oleum. I bet it is. So here's our block. I need to do a little light more wiping with that WD-40, keep that from flash rusting, but it has a light coat right now on the decks and in the cylinders. But you're supposed to allow it to dry now before you do the rust etch, and you can see it's still a little kind of scaly and whatever in there, and it says it does not have to be fully descaled as long as it is fully degreased, and I've now degreased it twice and pressure washed it twice, and I blew out every single hole, bolt hole, thread hole, oil galley, all that twice. So when the rust stuff goes on, you got to keep it wet, I think, for 20 to 40 minutes, and just keep soaking it, and that's going to etch that rusty bare metal. So that's cool. I think I'm almost there. I'm gonna roll it up on each side. I might take my little torch and just light it and see. Be sure she's nice and dry, because at the end of that, you're just supposed to rinse it off with a water hose and let it dry overnight. That's kind of how I'm going to do it. It just said let dry totally, so rinse it off. I'll blow it out again, wipe all my surfaces again, but I don't want any chance of WD-40 getting on this surface, as it may cause the paint to flake or do something weird. So I get my spray bottle ready and we'll come out and spray this thing. I got my decks taped off. I taped off that front cam bearing because I didn't want any etch to get on it. I taped off that bronze bushing there because I didn't want any etch to get on it. And I'm not going to be trying to flow it into here or anything, but I'm sure a little overspray is going to get in this, and that's totally fine. If it doesn't matter. But yeah, both decks, I'm going to go ahead and shoot the freeze plug so they can etch too. And I just got a little edge here hanging out, which I'll probably paint also, but I'll have to retape it then. But basically, it just says keep it wet 30 minutes. The rust blast. See, if I'm careful, I can kind of keep it out of everywhere in the world. There we go. Shoot the back of the block nice. It just always looks a little rusty and never gets any love. That's okay. Today's the day. So it is the next day. Here's our engine block. And you can see kind of this white powderiness and the rusty lookingness. It's basically like flash rust from where that stuff etched it. Look at the deck surface here. It kind of made it ugly. But if you feel with your finger, you can't actually feel any of that stuff. I think what I'm going to do after everything is painted is get myself a small Scotch pad and a little bit of brake clean or something and just come through and wipe, scrub a little. I don't want to get any fibers into my bolt holes or any of that business. But I mean, right now, even if it was wiped, you could put a head gasket on that. It's not it didn't etch it so deep that it hurt the finish of it. But here we are. We are going to do the freeze plugs. I called and checked with Nick, and I will I'll try the torch on it like the Uncle Tony method, see if I can run any water out of there, and we'll see how that works. I had stored this upside down last night. There we go. Pretty good to me. So let me run around and do this. You don't have to, I don't have to film this entire process, but let's dry her out before we rust seal it. Got our rust seal open and mixed up. Poured into a new paint cup. See, it's got a far out look to it. I'm going to use their little janky paintbrush with it, and then I'll toss it. But it's got to do a couple very, very thin coats. It says 2 mils each. And apply them both within 6 hours of each coat curing. So I'll get to painting her up here. I've rolled this thing over probably 5 times now, and I think they call this color galvanized or something. There we go. Rolled her. I want to peel the tape, and I'll retape this stuff anyway after doing the, whenever I come back to paint this, I can retape this stuff. But yeah, even where my tape was, I want to wipe that with a little bit of WD-40 so it doesn't start to rust. Paint job, I think it's fine. It's like ugly through in here, but that's just where it was etched at. There's not nothing's coming off. And I'll get her rolled and untape it. So next time you see this thing, we'll put some orange on after everything is cured nicely on it. And you'll see I've kind of roughed it up a little bit here. I had kind of some high spots. The casting of this just seemed like it was raised quite a bit before I ever painted it. So I just took a piece of 220 sandpaper, went around and sanded the whole thing. If there was anything it looked like it could have bubbled or anything from that last coat, I knocked it off. Sanding never hurts in this situation. And I went over our pad really well so it didn't have any lines or ridges. The lines you see there are the machining marks. That's what I'd call that. Roll over. All this was kind of just, this is kind of a weird, ugly block from the factory. I hate to say that. I don't know if somebody's worked on this here, done anything. I have not. I had a bubble around where that freeze plug was. So I just took my straight edge razor and dug it out really well. What I'm mostly doing at this next step, I'm painting the primer. But the paint will actually, I could have painted the bare block with the paint as well. But the rust seal is the primer for this. So what I wanted to do was knock off any of the high spots, any boogers, any, I had a few little strands of paintbrush come off and they were stuck in this. So I came back with my tweezers and pulled those out while it was still wet, but you could still just faintly see some stuff. So we're trying to make it as nice as possible. I came back with some rubbing alcohol and wiped the whole thing. Also if you've seen me paint a car or anything else, the spray away glass cleaner, shoot and wipe the whole thing. Just got a real nice, you can see that was like my first steps, and eventually it came to all the way clean. So wipe it over and over and over. I'm gonna blow it off one more time. And we're gonna get to painting this thing. So I'm excited for that. I got a little higher quality brush than the one they sent, with a fine bristles to it. So let's paint a block. Notice I didn't mask anything off because I think I can get pretty close with this paintbrush here. Go very thin, thin, thin. And that one coat should cover. This is Street Hemi Orange. Oh, here we are. And it is self-leveling. I want to keep painting and keep moving. Looks pretty nice. I'll do one side for you and then we can come back and see the finished product. I'll probably time lapse this starting now. So KBS coatings, we're doing our second coat now. It has been 7 days, and you can see that's totally dry there. I went ahead and reapplied to this side, and it's looking really nice. I thinned my paint out just a tad, and I think that has helped. You can see it's just like kind of flowing out now. I'm gonna show you more in the light, but I've wiped this side in the directions it says, and I should have looked closer at this. In most cases, a single full coat will do it, but it has to be applied within 30 minutes for your second coat or after 7 days. So I've actually waited 8 days just to be sure. Left my shop heater running all night last night, warmed this thing back up. And this was the same paint that I used 7 days ago. I just took one of these blue rubber gloves and stretched over the lid. It stayed nice. So if you want to see a little application of number 2, I promise I won't bore you with this too much. But man, it's covering so much better. And right now I feel like I'm not painting the block. I'm painting the first coat. So I'm painting the second coat over the first coat, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not actually painting the engine block anymore. Maybe a few little bare spots like that. But get it in there. It's leveling off. If there's any little holes like that, I'll go ahead and fill them in. But I'm trying to do lighter coats. I know it looks a little heavy here, but anything that's running or dripping, see our pad. Still just faintly see our HP in there. So if your goal was to try to keep that, the numbering on top where it's still legible, you may want to do very, 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 very thin coats. But I'm gonna see, I think after it levels off, should still be legible. But yeah, I'm not gonna film a lot of this. It's just me painting with a paintbrush. It covers pretty nice. I've got the entire thing coated twice. What I recommend, get you a little bag, these little paint brushes. I think these were from Walmart. 30 of them for like $1. But you can take that and get in little goofy spots. Let me get a little paint here, wake it up. Little goofy spots like that. You can kind of see it right there. But I don't want to take my big brush and just slop a bunch of paint into there, because it will then cause a bunch of runs and I have to try to smear it around. Simple stuff. Boom, that's done. I'm gonna roll the block over again. Ooh. See, I can come back and scrape this off with a razor blade after it kind of tacks up some. I'm a little bit, yeah, it's already getting good and tacky there. A little bit, see that little silver right there? Hopefully you can see that. I can hit that with a big brush, just a dab. But I've flipped this thing 3 times and I painted, and I would have bet money that I was done. But every time I flip it, see, there's another one. I find something else. There's another one. I just missed every one of these angles, didn't I? At the end of the day, it is an engine block, and you don't want it to rust. And it's going to have pretty trick flow 240 aluminum heads on it, and probably pretty ceramic coated headers. And you're not ever going to actually see up close on the block itself, except in video and in the dyno videos that I'll have on this. So hopefully you follow along for that. So far, I'm pretty pleased with the coating. It coated well. I have not done an endurance test on this, but it was recommended to me by my buddy Darren Blake. And he does some high quality stuff. There's me a little hair to pull off. There we go. Blend that back. Boom. Let's do a walk around.